What's up, fans? Straight from the phone video. Josh Rosen's press conference ended about 15 minutes ago, so I want to get you this information as soon as possible. Then I'm going to take one of you guys' comments of the day. It's not going to pop up like it usually does because I'm doing straight from the phone, so I can't really edit this. But let's start it. And he says, the first thing he says is the last 3 days were hectic, but the last 3 months were normal, which I don't understand that, because how were the last 3 months normal when you were in complete turmoil and speculation that you were going to be traded because the Cardinals were going to take Murray, #1 overall? Maybe because of last year's draft, there was the whole, where was he ranked quarterback-wise with him and Josh Allen, stuff like that. He said he got a call from the Cardinals before they took Murray, and he said he was disappointed, which I don't blame him. You're waiting on continuing to improve, you're waiting on continuing to show that you're the franchise quarterback, and then they instantly give up with you because there's a new sexy car or this new thing popped up, and you're like, they're going after that. So I can understand where he comes from. He says very, very rarely do you get a second chance to make a first impression, because his first impression was filled with some misleading stuff, because we've all seen that the rumors and the tweets, and he has problems being a leader, he has attitude problems, all this crap. But then we've seen the truth. If you got David Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald backing you up and saying good things about you, and then you saw my yesterday's video with Omar Kelly and Adam Beasley tweeting out that they've reached out and people have reached out to them saying it's BS, you got to look into that. Then he says whatever happens. He's pretty prepared for both scenarios when it came to the being traded and all that stuff. He was just like, let's just get this stuff rolling. Let's get this stuff going. He said that the Dolphins just want him to come in and compete. That's all. They're not putting too much pressure on the kid. They're not making him out to be the next Dan Marino. They're not making him out to be anything. Essentially, whatever, just come in, compete. No pressure, play football, do what you love. He says at the end of the day, he wants to come in and play football. Like I just said, just come in, play football, do what you love, no pressure, just do what you got to do. He said he felt like he got drafted twice because he got a call from Flores and Greer that were in the draft room, and then they did the whole thing where like, hey, what's up? This is the owner, and then they pass it around. We all saw the Tannehill video. If you haven't seen the Tannehill video, look up Ryan Tannehill's draft room video, and you could see that like they're all talking to filming, and they're all talking to him, and then you could see Chris Greer kind of like slowly leave the room because he didn't like the Tannehill pick. But it doesn't matter anymore. He thinks he's a really good teammate. That it's not up to him to be the judge of that. That a little bit of the bad perception, it had a little bit of bad perception at first. So he's saying that he's a good teammate, but it's not up to him to judge if he's a good teammate. It's up to his teammates to judge if he's a good teammate. And obviously, like I said before, you got two of the leading guys on the Cardinals, two of the captains, Larry Fitzgerald and David Johnson, backing him up. But he says it's perception, If you hear papers flipping, it's because I wrote everything down. That's what I do. I write things down, and then I come and I make my videos. But this time it's harder because I have to sit here and read it and then tell you guys things versus I can just cut out me reading it. But hey, it's live. Live TV, live YouTube, live news. I don't get any better than this. He says he was thrown into the spotlight at UCLA, said things got off the cuff, and he wouldn't have said things he said back then now that he's older and he's more mature and he knows the NFL landscape, So he said some things in UCLA, and then he did some things, but he was a college kid. Your attitude in college can affect your draft grade, can affect how people perceive you, can affect how people take what you're saying. But I think with the whole situation he's going through, it's really making him take a step back. If he wants to continue being a quarterback in the NFL, if he wants to continue being to be a franchise quarterback, to be a future quarterback, he needs to learn from his mistakes, and he needs to build off of them. And I feel like that is one of the things that he needs to do, because in UCLA, like he said, he kind of would say things off the cuff, whereas now he's learning to kind of hold it back, especially on Twitter. In the NFL, you just get off of Twitter if you're an NFL player. Like, just don't do it. He said he thinks he could be a good quarterback, and he thinks he could be a good leader. And it just really feeds into what I was just saying. You know, he's just learning. He's been drafted number 1 for the Cardinals. Not number 1, but their number 1 draft pick for the Cardinals. And then the very next year they take a quarterback. And it just it can affect your psyche, and it can affect your mentality on the game and being a starting quarterback. But if he can do what he's saying and build off of his past and just come in here and compete and be excited for a new beginning, sky's the limit. But if not, you know, it's he even talks about it later. I'm getting way ahead of myself. Let me just keep going. He says, I don't think the chip on my shoulder can grow anymore because it's going to tip off. Again, he has this huge chip on his shoulder because not only were people in the media this year, myself included, because I was doing research and reading stuff when the Josh Rosen happened, that he has an attitude problem. And also that he's not worthy of being a number 1 quarterback because a lot of people didn't want him. But he's got that chip on his shoulder now. And that's what, I think that was the main thing that really brought me around to liking this move for Josh Rosen. The fact that it didn't cost that much, like literally it cost a second and a 5 next year, and it's going to cost us about $6 million over 3 years, which is less than some people pay their backup quarterbacks. I don't think Ryan Tannehill's getting that little of a money. But also the fact that this dude is coming in here with this chip on his shoulder, and he's coming in here just like he's got to prove the world wrong is just really what kind of turned me around with this whole thing. He sees this as a 1-year tryout, he says. So I really think that he's coming in here not expecting, okay, I'm going to be a starter. I'll talk about that in a few seconds. He says something about that literally in 2 seconds. I'm going to talk about it. He doesn't see himself as a starter. He's coming in, it's a 1-year tryout. If Fitzpatrick starts, cool. But maybe it'll be like what happened with the Tampa Bay Bucks. Fitz does great, then they take him out because he starts throwing crazy interceptions, because that's what Fitz does. He's an aggressive type of quarterback. He will try to win the game, and he'll try to get passes in. He probably shouldn't. They might put Rosen in. Rosen might start playing really well. And then all of a sudden, things are different. There's different scenarios, but he sees it as a 1-year tryout. He said he didn't meet with the Pats last year, so he doesn't know Chad O'Shea. There was rumors last year that he did meet with the Pats last year and that the Patriots wanted him. And then also there's the rumors this year that the Patriots were one of the teams that were trying to trade for him. But he said he didn't. So he doesn't really know Chad O'Shea. But the crazy thing is, Chad O'Shea is going to be his 4th offensive coordinator. He had 3 different offensive coordinators last year. So hopefully him starting with Chad O'Shea and then maybe him sitting, again, it all depends on how the QB battle goes on in camp. It all depends on how he works out in camp. It all depends on how he does versus Ryan Fitzpatrick. Obviously, they're going to share first-team reps. Again, I'm going to be talking about it on this channel when it comes to training camp and OTAs. But he had 4 OCs, and he had a crap offensive line. I'm saying our offensive line right now, as of right now, is that much better. But the fact that you constantly have to keep having a different coach tell you things, I don't think they changed. Now, with having the 3 OCs last year, I don't think it changes scheme. Because in the year, for you to change scheme would be dumb. Like, if the Dolphins did fire Matt Burke last year, they're not going to completely change the defensive scheme, because then all of a sudden your whole team has to start all over in the middle of the year. It's dumb. But still, to have a different person with a different mindset and a different style of coaching, and it's hard. It's hard. So he had a lot of them. He thinks he's a backup on paper. So he's already with that mentality that this is a 1-year tryout, and he thinks he's a backup behind Ryan Fitzpatrick. But Flores told Rosen, at this point, without training camp, without OTAs, with the draft just ending, with May 8th still around the corner where they can sign a bunch of free agents and not affect the comp picks, there is no starters. So Brian Flores literally said to him, look, there is no starters. So you might think you're backup on paper, but as of right now, there's no offensive line starters, even though Laramie Tunsil's going to be the starting left tackle. There's no starting running back, Kenyon Drake. There's no starting quarterback. There is no starting quarterback. As of right now, when they got Josh Rosen, before they got Josh Rosen, I was like, Fitz is going to start. But now, there is no starting quarterback. Wide receivers, there's no real starters. It's kind of a rotation type thing. Corner, you got Howard. But the other side, no starters. Safeties, there's Rashad Jones is a starter. But we don't know what's going on with Fitz. Linebackers, we kind of know who their starters are. But the defensive line, no starters. So there's no starters in certain positions. I know Flores said there's no starters at this point, but there's certain positions that there are starters. But, after he said that, he literally said Flores told him there's no starters at this point of the year. Press conference was over. He said, thank you. And he walked off the stage. He probably went to go hang out with Flores and Greer and Ross, maybe go meet some more teammates, work out a little. But from what I'm reading, and from what I heard from him, he's here to compete, and he's here to prove that he's not as bad as people are making him out to be, and he's not as bad as the media is making him out to be. His attitude problems and all that stuff. Now, when you watch his college tape, he shines. There's some games where he really does shine. There were some games last year, even the Packers game that he won, he didn't do too great, but he still did well enough, and I've noticed, and a lot of you guys have showed me a YouTube channel. I'm going live, so as of right now, I can't remember the name of the YouTube channel, but you guys know what YouTube channel you guys sent me, where he did breakdown of Josh Rosen's foot film, and he shows that, like, he can make the plays, and he can make the plays that he was missing. He was throwing passes too early. It wasn't fundamental stuff that he's a bad quarterback. Like accuracy problems, he doesn't have it. It was more just timing problems. Josh Rosen even talked about the timing problems. Also, he would step up sometimes when he didn't need to step up, and he would step up into pressure versus just staying where he's at, letting the tackles, push the pressure behind him and just kind of stay in the pocket. This is all rookie stuff. This is all, stuff that, like, obviously there's rookies that will come in and light it up, and you're like, see, why can't you do that? And that's the bad thing about the NFL. You'll have these rare anomalies where these rookies come in and from jump, they're superstars. And then everyone wants all the rookies to come in and be superstars. And when they're not, all of a sudden the fan base starts tearing them down. And then all of a sudden, the owner and the GM and not the head coach, but the owner and the GM start to see the fan base turn on these draft picks and want something quick. Come on, why isn't he? Look at this guy. Like, look at Baker Mayfield. Why is he shining? Why is Josh Allen shining? Why isn't Rosen shining? What's going on? Come on. But that's not how it works. Not every person is the same. Like, Charles Harris is a prime example. There's a ton of fans on the Dolphins that hate Josh Rosen and Harris, and think he's a complete bust. But keep forgetting that he's a 3-4 outside linebacker that got drafted to a 4-3 defensive end position. He's not a bust. He has been put in the wrong scheme, and he's been coached by Matt Burke. So, like, especially when it comes to Josh Rosen, and you want things now, and you want things to happen like instantly, especially with these rookies, because you see certain rookies that it's like I said, it's an anomaly. It happens, but like the whole first round doesn't pan out to be all great players. Even Mika Fitzpatrick last year struggled at some points. He really did struggle. He'll even say he struggled at some points. He's not a complete and utter 100,000% from jump superstar. So with Josh Allen. Last year, they wanted they wanted it now, because look at Baker Mayfield. Look at what Baker Mayfield's doing. They looked at Josh Allen. They're like, why aren't we getting this now? It's because not everyone's made the same. But that's the Josh Rosen press conference. Let me know. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. Love reading you guys' comments. I'm gonna get to one of you guys' comments right now. This one comes from Nonsensy, and he says, "It looks like they're one defensive tackle short. I wish they could pick up Willis from Miami as a free agent." I picked this comment because it's twofold for what I want to talk about. First, the undrafted free agents. They are starting to be officially signed today. When Miami makes it official that they have signed these players, because again, I told you guys yesterday that players might say that they're coming to the Dolphins for camp, and players could say they're heading to Miami. but they can also turn around and go somewhere else. That's already happened to the Dolphins with one player. So once the Dolphins make it official that they have signed these undrafted free agents, which I'm going to probably make this video tomorrow, I'm going to talk about them. I'm going to talk about certain players that shouldn't have been undrafted that we got. I'm going to break it down. So that's why I talked about that, because he said Willis from Miami as a free agent. And then also he talked about free agents and the fact that we were one defensive tackle short. May 8th, guys, we could start signing players and it won't affect the comp pick. Now, as of right now, there's 5 teams with less than $5 million in cap, and you need about 7 to 8 mil to sign your rookie contracts. Those 5 teams need to create some type of cap space so they can sign their rookies. There's going to be cuts, which means more free agents, which means more prospects for the Dolphins to potentially fill some of their needs. Now, they're not going to fill all their needs. They're not going to go hog wild. I know I said they're going to go hog wild in a video. They're not going to go hog wild after May 8th, but they're going. I'd like to see them go after Danny Shelton. That's one player I'd really like to see them go after. And the fact that he hasn't signed yet, maybe Miami's already told him, look, we're going to sign you. Just give us a second. Right now, they have $36 million under the cap, Miami. 8 million, 7, 8 million is going to go towards the rookie, so they got about 28 million under the cap. Honestly, don't see them spending all that. I also don't see them needing to spend all that, because if these free agents are still out there, obviously they're not going to have to pay them that much. So I could see them, picking up some offensive linemen, some defensive linemen in a corner. If they do that, right, with the free agent coming up, pick up maybe 1 or 2 offensive linemen, pick up like Ansa, that would be a nice surprise. Maybe Danny Shelton, okay? And then pick up a corner. I know there's some corners out there. I haven't done research, nor can I cut this out, look, come back and tell you. But if they could pick up like 4 players, offensive linemen, preferably a starting right tackle, Danny Shelton, Ansa, and a starting corner, they pick up those 4 players, I'm pumped. You see, you filled some of the needs. We're good to go. Let's get ready. Let's go to training camp. Let's move. So May 8th, I could see them signing some players, hopefully the 4 that I said. But other than that, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Straight from the source, so it's straight, no music in the background, no edits, no things popping up. But I hope you enjoy these type of videos. I'm going to do this when I want to get you guys stuff as soon as possible. Be sure to comment so I can pick one of you guys' comments of the day for tomorrow's video. I'm going to break down the unrestricted free agent, undrafted free agents. Either tomorrow or Wednesday, depends on when it becomes official, or it depends on when the full list comes out, because things could still be fluid and moving. But be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed already. I got so much planned for you guys. If you guys have been here from jump, or if you've been here last year, I break down training camp. Every day of training camp, I tell you what happened in training camp, who did well, who did bad. Same thing with OTAs, and we got preseason. I live stream preseason games. I don't show it, but obviously it's like the draft. I got a lot of plans, so subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Be sure to check out the Bit Boys. I normally put their thing here, and then I put other stuff here, so be sure to check out the Bit Boys. But other than that, I will see you guys either tomorrow or Wednesday with another video, probably talking about undrafted free agents, or if something else happens. I give you stuff as soon as I possibly can. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for subscribing. Thank you guys so much for giving the thumbs up if you did. But I'll see you soon. But like usual, stay classy. Fins up.